Hi everybody! So today I'm going to show you how we make this really simple coaster with a beautiful finished I-cord edging that is totally done in crochet. We will be using Dishy, which is done by We Crochet Official. It is a worsted weight yarn. As well, we are going to be using a 5mm hook. I'm using my Furls Crochet Odyssey hook today. You will also need for this project, you will need 4 stitch markers. It can be different colors. They don't have to all be the lockable ones. It can be whichever ones you want. But I'm going to show you how we make this coaster. It is honestly so simple, and once you see how we do this beautiful I-cord edging, you're going to fall in love with it and want to add it to so many different projects. So for today, I'm going to show you how we do this using a light gray yarn. So hopefully it's a little bit easier for you to see. So we are going to start off by creating a magic loop. So if you've never created a magic loop before, what you're going to want to do is have a long tail and then wrap this yarn, wrap your yarn around so you have 3 loops over and your tail is down here. I then take my yarn and go underneath these 2 loops because those are going to become the magic loop, and this is going to be the working yarn, and I hook this yarn through those 2 loops. Now I'm going to take my working yarn over here and I'm going to start by doing a chain 1. So now I have this loop right here, which is my magic loop. So to start this project, after I did the chain 1, I'm going to half double crochet 8 into the magic loop. So you can be a little finicky at the start as you're starting off these stitches, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you start off with something that looks kind of like this. It's a little bit wonky, but what we want to do now is we're going to close up the magic loop in order to get a really nice circle. So I like to enlarge the working yarn just a little bit. And now you need to pull on one of these loops to start, and then we'll pull on the other one. So I always like to start by finding out which one of these loops is connected to the tail. So I'll place my thumb here and I will pull on one of these loops, and I can really see that that loop is getting smaller and this loop is getting bigger. So what I want to do then is take the loop that was obviously getting smaller and pull on that one, because that is going to pull on the opposite loop first. So you can see how it's getting really small. So I'll pull that one all the way tight and it becomes really big. And now I'm going to go take my tail and pull on my tail. And now my magic loop is closed. So now what I want to do is put my hook back into my working yarn, and I am going to, leaving the tail underneath, do a slip stitch into the first half double crochet that I created. And now we have the very little start of our coaster. There it is. So now we are going to chain 1 and place 2 half double crochet into each half double crochet around so that we have 16 stitches at the end of this round. And 15 and 16. So we have our 16 stitches done all the way around here. So I'm then going to join to the first half double crochet made and slip stitch to join in the round. Okay, we have the first 2 rows of our little coaster done. So on the 3rd round, what we're going to do is we're going to start by chaining 1, and our repeat this time is going to be 2 half double crochet in the first stitch, 1 half double crochet in the next, and we're going to repeat that around. So we start with half double crochet 1, half double crochet 2 in the same stitch, and then we're going to do 1 half double crochet into the next. And so that becomes 3 stitches that was into 2, and we're going to repeat that all the way around. And we have 1 stitch left remaining, and that's just going to be a single stitch. And then going to join with a slip stitch to the first half double crochet created. And close off round 3. So now round 4, we are going to do almost the same repeat, but this time we're going to chain 1. We're going to do 1 half double crochet in the first stitch, and then we're going to do 2 into the second stitch. So we're just changing the repeat. Instead of doing the increase first, we're doing the increase second here. Need a little more yarn off my ball here. So we're going 1. And so at the end of this round, you'll have 36 stitches. Okay, and so in our last stitch, we should have 2 half double crochets in our last stitch because we've done the increase at the end of the repeat. Okay, and then we are going to join with a slip stitch to our first half double crochet. So we're just, creating a circle. We've got 1 more row that we're going to do, and then we are going to add the applied Icord edging. So the last round, what our repeat is going to be is we're going to do 2 half double crochets, 1 and 2, and then 2 into the next stitch. And we're going to end up with 48 stitches in our round. we get down to our last repeat here, and 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so you're going to join with a slip stitch in the round. So right now we have just created a little circle that has 48 stitches around it. And so what we need to do is we are going to go from here, add the applied icord edging all the way around, which is going to create this beautiful, beautiful edging for your really pretty coaster. And it kind of ends up being a raised edge, so you know whatever you put inside won't automatically roll away or fall away. So I am very excited to show you guys how we take this and turn it into this. So what you're going to need to do to start with is you are going to, after we join in the round, like we just did here, we are going to start by chaining 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we've chained 4 just like that. We are also going to take a stitch marker, and I'm going to use my pink one here right now, and we are going to place it into the stitch that we joined into. We're just going to leave that there because that is going to be used for later on in our project for us to know. So now we have the right side facing us. What I want to do is, starting in the second chain from the hook, so skip the first one and go to the second one, I'm going to pick up a loop in each of the back bumps so that I have 4 loops on my hook here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my work over so that I'm looking at the wrong side of the work. And you can tell by having which end your tail is coming out of, but I want my stitch marker to be on my right hand side. We're going to work around counterclockwise to get to the right side. So we are now going to insert into the last stitch that we would have worked, so this stitch right here, and pull up a loop. So we should have 5 loops on our hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the first thing that we are going to do is put a stitch marker on the working yarn, just like this, and we're just going to let that hang for the time being. What we're going to do next is we are going to remove our hook from all of the loops, and we are going to place a stitch marker on the furthest loop right here because we're going to use that one later on. So I'm just going to leave that there, and then I'm going to insert my hook back into this one. So now I have 4 loops that are kind of precariously dangling there. And for this, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can better see what I'm talking about. Okay, so I have my 4 loops that are live and just kind of hanging out there right now. I am going to pull up the working yarn, so I'm leaving that blue stitch marker just kind of hanging there. And with a loose tension, I'm going to pull through the one that was on the loop and then pull through the second one. Then I have 2 loops remaining here, these 2 right here. I am going to insert into 1, insert into 2, and pull up a loop so that those 2 are then together. Then I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch and also pull up a loop. So I have 4 loops always on my hook here. So then what I'm going to do again is I'm going to remove my hook from these 3 loops. With a loose tension, I'm going to wrap and bring yarn through that one. I'm going to bring up a loop through the next one. The next live loop that I have here. Can be a little bit finicky trying to figure this out at the very beginning. Then I'm going to go through 2, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, and pull up a loop. And that's what I'm going to be repeating over and over again. I'm going to do this a couple times really slowly, and then I'll speed it up as I work around the rest of the project, but it will get easier. The main thing you want to remember is your working yarn needs to be a loose tension because you're going to start to build these ladders on the other side of the work that we are going to use later. So if you're too tight, you're not going to be able to see them when we need to use them later on in the project. So again, remove all of the loops but one with a loose tension, wrap, pull through, insert your hook into the next one, pull up a loop, insert your hook through the next 2 loops, pull up 1 loop through those 2 loops, into the next stitch and pull up a loop. With a loose tension, go through 1, pull up a loop through 2, go through 2 loops and pull up a loop, into the next loop and pull up. So we have 4. Again, you're creating these ladders across the front, and we do want those to be there. So it looks kind of crazy right now, but I promise you this is exactly what we want it to look like. So it can be a little easy to lose these live loops. And so it's again, you're gonna need a little bit of practice in order to become, proficient at doing it. But that's with anything. I think the number one mistake that I made the first time that I did this was I did not have a lighter tension on when I was bringing it up from the bottom to the top, and that really caused me problems later on. And see, I naturally just made a mistake there. Instead of, I just was absentmindedly going through all 3. What I should have done is I need to pull off these. I need to remember to go through the 2, go 2 together, and then go into the next one. And the reason that we're going the 2 together there is because we always want to have 4 loops on our hook, and we are adding a new one. Oops. We are adding a new loop each time. We are, continuing to move around this little coaster. So this is the new one that I'm adding. And you can imagine that if I didn't do the 2 together before it right there, I would end up with like 48 loops on my hook by the end of this, which is not what we want at all. So again, loose tension. Try not to lose the next loop. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna flip it over. This is what you should be seeing on the right side of your work, all of these ladders building all the way up. I am going to meet you back here when we are over here at have finished this 1 loop before your stitch marker that you placed. So once you get to here, I will meet back up with you and show you what it looks like at that point. Okay, so we are almost at the end here. So the pink marker is my last stitch that I have the marker. So I have 2 more stitches here to work into. So I just thought I'd show you one more time what this looks like. So I've got the 4 loops that are on my hook here. I'm going to remove them all but the live hook loop. Pull through with easy tension or loose tension. Pull through the second one, and then put my hook through the 3rd and through the 4th, pull up a loop, and pull up a loop into the last one. I've got 3, so I'm gonna do this one more time. Go through 1, go through 2, go through 3 and 4, pull up a loop, and pull up a loop in the last loop here. So now what I want to do is I want to finish off this project. So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to take my hook out of all 4 of these loops. Okay, all 4. I'm gonna grab, grab a stitch marker here, and I'm going to put it through all 4 of these loops. I like to go from left to right in this one because this is a loop that I'm gonna need to use at the end, but it really doesn't matter. So what you can do now is if you flip over, we have this crazy looking thing, right? So I have all of these ladders, stitches all the way around right now. So what we actually want to do is we want to work through all of these ladder stitches to pull this I-cord edging closed. And you're gonna see what I mean shortly. So this dark blue stitch marker is on there to identify what the first ladder is. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm gonna take I'll zoom in a little bit here for you. Take this yellowy green stitch marker and I'm going to remove it. I'm going to insert my hook into that stitch. Then I'm going to remove the blue stitch marker and take that one off to the side. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my hook underneath that ladder and pull up a loop. And I'm going to keep doing that through every single ladder all the way around. Like, it's shocking how simple this is, but we're just pulling up loops in all of these ladder stitches. When you pull up the loop, it will tighten it a little bit. There we go. And so you'll just want to make sure that you're always trying to pull through the next ladder stitch. Now, if you had nice loose tension, you should be able to pretty easily identify these as you work along here. So we're just going to keep going all the way around. You'll just want to make sure, again, so you can already see how we've pulled this together, and this is coming really nicely together on this side. So we'll continue to pull through all of these ladder stitches. Oops. So you might just need to pull on some of your stitches a little bit to get the tension. There we go. You can kind of see that evens itself out a little bit where it looked kind of funky earlier. So you'll just keep pulling through every single ladder stitch all the way around. You will end up, just kind of pulling your stitches into place to even it out at the end, which is perfectly fine and normal. But we're almost done creating an I-cord edge, and we have not knit a thing, which is pretty freaking awesome in my opinion. Okay, so we're coming around to the end here. We have almost just the last few ladder stitches. You want to make sure that you get every single one. If you miss one, you will end up with a little bit of a funky looking piece, but that's okay. Okay, so we've worked through to the last ladder stitch, which is amazing. So I'm going to show you what we would do here in order to finish off our row. But basically with this last ladder stitch that we have here, we are going to end up placing this one also on the stitch marker. So now that we have gotten around to the end, we have this one loop left, and I'm going to place this loop onto my stitch marker so that I now have 5 loops. Oops. 5 loops on the stitch marker here, and I keep pulling on it, it keeps coming undone. So you can kind of see some of these loops are a little bit prettier than others, but if you just give it a little bit of a tug, it'll even out your tension into that I-cord edging. So there you go. You can see that that's a bit nicer now after I've pulled on it. So we just need to finish this off. We are almost done. What we need to do now is we are going to use duplicate stitch to create the very last row. We still have this one stitch here that we didn't work into. And so what we're going to do, it's really, really simple. It's just create duplicate stitch to work over into these 4 stitches here, and then we are all done. So we're going to start by snipping our yarn. Leave a long tail. I say 6 or 8 inches because we're going to want to make sure that we have enough we can weave in after the fact. Okay, so I'm going to put this onto my great big tapestry needle. And I'm going to remove this pink stitch marker now because we are done with it. So what we want to do is from this last live loop over here, we want to connect this one into this one over here. And so to do that, we are going to create duplicate stitch. So we are going to go through this stitch, underneath both strands of this stitch, and then through it again, as if we were creating another knit stitch. So I'm just going to take one loop off at a time because I find that is what allows me to do this really easily. So then I'm going to go underneath the next stitch. Again, I'm creating a duplicate. I'm going under the next row that I have here, and then into that stitch again. And I'm just creating another row. You can see right here already, I've created this one, and it becomes a seamless round. Okay, so I'll take one more stitch off here. So I'm going to go into this stitch from right to left, go underneath the next row that I have in the round here, and then go back into the stitch to create what looks like another stitch. Perfect. Oh, that looks so good and nice and seamless. So then the last one we are going to do, we have 2 loops left, but just like we were doing before, we're actually going to work these 2 loops as one, just like we've been doing kind of all the way through. So I'm going to put my tapestry needle through both of these loops. I have 1 loop on the back left here to work into. I'm going to pull through, and then I'm going to, this one's a little bit awkward. It's not quite going to look perfectly seamless, but I'm going to go do my best to go through those stitches again to make it look like another knit stitch. And that is all there is to it. So right now, what I would do is I would create a little, probably just a little knot here, go through like this. There we go. It's on the wrong side, so it doesn't really matter as much. And then I'm just going to weave in these 2 ends. So I'm just going to quickly weave in my ends here. Okay. And back the other way. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to snip that end off there. Let's have my next, we'll weave in this end in the middle, and then we're done, and this is going to be so stupid cute. So I like to finish doing my weaving in the center part with the tail, just because it's already kind of puffy, and I can add a couple more stitches there. I want it to get through. There we go. Perfect. So then I'm going to snip this little tail right here. And we're done. And so we have this super cute little iCoord edged coaster. So you can really see it a little bit differently in the gray versus the blue here. Every time you do it, your tension's going to get a little bit better. But yeah, you have this super pretty iCoord edging. Because we do that duplicate stitch at the end, it really becomes perfectly seamless, which is really quite cool. And the best part is we created an iCoord edging and I didn't need to learn how to knit. So I hope you like this iCoord edging coaster, and I hope you enjoy creating your own. Thank you so much.